Welcome to the new Workology Go Podcast. In just under 5 minutes, we'll get you the HR and workplace news you need before you start your day 2 times a week. Get ready, get set, and go with the new Workology Go Podcast.
Here are today's HR and workplace news headlines from the Workology Go Podcast. I'm Jessica Miller-Merrill. This podcast is sponsored by HSA Bank. Talent is on the minds of everyone, and that is most apparent in the technology industry, and specifically in Silicon Valley, where the average employee has multiple job offers and job options all the time. There are some in SV that believe if you stay at a company for too long, you're looked upon as not an A player, but someone whose career is stagnant. Staying at a company in Silicon Valley too long is seen as not desirable, and it can impact your career trajectory. I'm reading the book Radical Candor by Kim Scott. Kim has worked for Silicon Valley darlings like Apple and Google prior to launching her executive and leadership coaching business. She describes the job market in Silicon Valley as one where employers don't have the luxury of employing and rewarding horrible bosses and toxic workplace cultures. Employees have options, and they move quickly onto other opportunities. Today's featured article on the Workology Go podcast comes from Business Insider, and it is titled, "Here's How Long the Average Employee Stays at the Biggest Tech Companies." How do you ensure longer employee tenure? Jeff Kortz shares his thoughts on driving down turnover and keeping your best employees from a previous Workology podcast episode.
Well, I always tell organizations that I work with, employee retention is simple. It's not easy. What I focus on is I'm a big believer in fundamentals. Fundamentals. I actually had a boss very early on in my career that he said to me, I came to him and I was telling him all these great reasons why we keep people. At the time I was 25, and of course when you're 25, I think you have all the answers. I know I did. And he said, "Jeff, let's forget fancy fads. Let's focus on the fundamentals." So I believe that that's really the way you drive employee retention. And oftentimes I see organizations simply have a lack of focus. They will try one thing one day, one thing another day, and they'll jump from thing to thing. And as a result, they have no cohesive strategy that's designed to attack the problem of employee retention.
Let's talk about your philosophy. What does CRAP, or CRAP, which
Sure.
makes me laugh, but I think it probably gets people thinking and breaks down some barriers. But what does CRAP have to do with employee retention?
Well, again, and I learned the same gentleman who told me about fancy fads. I really learned that caring, respect, appreciation, and praise are at the heart of driving employee retention. I talk about give your employees crap and 7 other secrets to employee retention. There's 7 other fundamentals, but I believe that crap and giving your people crap is really what is at the heart of it, because people want to know that you care about them and that you respect them. And then when they do something right, you got to show them appreciation. You got to praise them for what they do. So it's a situation where that's really kind of at the core of my philosophy. And one day I was driving down I-94 heading to a client, and I started thinking about the discussion I had with audiences, and it dawned on me, CRAP, crap. And so now everything I talk about is crap. And it's actually, and I like it because, to your point, it really gives organizations and people permission to have some fun, because employee retention can be kind of a heavy topic, but people hear it, they lighten up, and it just makes the process of educating them much easier.
Like Jeff, I believe having fun, feeling challenged, and giving your employees opportunities to learn and grow is key. Now, not every low tenure company featured in Business Insider's article we mentioned here on this podcast automatically means that these companies are toxic. It might mean that a key leader started a new company and brought a group of employees with them. For example, Biz Stone, who's one of the founders of Twitter, was an employee at Google first. When Twitter became funded, a number of notable employees left Google to work with Biz and his team at Twitter. Which company had the highest turnover on our featured article? Well, that honor goes to Uber, who we've talked about previously on the Workology Go podcast. Their average tenure is 1.8 years. Who had the longest tenure? Well, that honor, according to the article, goes to Cisco. Employees average 7.8 years at the company. What's your employee tenure like? How are you encouraging leaders to care, develop, and push their employees?
With health savings accounts, flexible spending accounts, health reimbursement arrangements, COBRA, and commuter benefits, HSA Bank is simplifying the health account experience for over 35,000 employers and 2.7 million members alike, inspiring everyone to own their health. Learn more at hsabank.com.
And that's this episode of the Workology Go podcast, sponsored by HSA Bank. We're your go-to for HR and workplace news. I'm Jessica Miller Merrill. Thank you for listening.
To learn more about the Workology Go podcast, subscribe to us on Apple, Google, and Stitcher. Our podcast is also available on Alexa and Google Home. Learn more at workology.com/Go podcast and access this episode's resources, links, and reports for more information.